know, right? Our kids move out, and just like that, our whole lives change. What used to be our family room and entertaining area was now just sitting here doing absolutely nothing. In the blink of an eye, this whole area became an absolute waste of space. You know, I remember we used to invite 15 to 25 teenagers up here at a time on what we called a games night. And I had this huge box of games, board games, card games, you name it. And they would pick out the game that they wanted to play and pair off into our lounge room or this area right here. And there'd be bodies everywhere and games everywhere and lots of happy sounds. Happy, hungry teenagers. My job was to keep the snacks flowing. Times have changed. No more games nights. No more kids at home. We did continue to entertain, but we tended to keep it to just one or two couples. And we dined in the dining area off the kitchen, where it was cosier and warmer. So this area really did become redundant. So we thought, what if we could change that? How could this area best suit our needs now? And that's when the idea hit. What if we could transform this area into a fully self-contained studio flat? That would mean in the future, we could perhaps use it for guests. We could even take in a lodger, or we would have the option to have a B&B down the track and perhaps create a second income. Who of us don't want that? If there's one thing about Kohani that Philip and I really love, it's the peace and solitude. It's only 10 minutes from town or 35 minutes from Hobart, but once you drive into that valley, the peace sets in. And we just love sharing that with people. We love sharing that with guests. But having been a guest in someone else's house, I also know how nice it is just to have your own space as well. As much as you appreciate people's hospitality, it's still nice to have a little bit of freedom, especially if your stay is all about escaping the rat race. So this area became an opportunity for us to share Kohani with others, but still give our guests space and also keep some space for ourselves so that everyone can enjoy their stay here. That just made sense to us. Sounds simple, right? It definitely wasn't.
It meant rethinking the entire layout. This window here had to be moved over to make room for a back door. And yes, the old pot belly had to go. The doorway here to upstairs had to be closed off. We could have just locked it, but we wanted guests to have a sense of security and privacy. Everything needed to be painted, including the windowsills, sashes, and doors. This mud brick wall was demolished, as was the adjacent mud brick wall, to make way for the new kitchenette. The slab was thickened and timber-framed walls erected under the existing eaves to create an area for the new kitchen. Philip cut these weatherboards from a tree off our very own property. There will be many stories to be told in upcoming episodes of this series about our empty nest upgrade. Make sure you're subscribed to follow the full transformation.
Well, challenges. There were many challenges. One that comes to mind was this kitchen bench. Now, it's a composite stone kitchen bench, and I had never cut a stone bench before. So that was a real challenge. The other thing about the bench that was a challenge was that I had to cut it to this very strange shape where it goes right into acute corners. That was only a once-off chance of getting it in right first time. There was no second goes at that. So the other challenge was this, where the bench comes out from the wall, it was wider than the corner of the two cupboards either side, and so I wanted to cut it to suit that. So that was a pretty exacting job.
So he was adamant he was going to get it in despite it being difficult. You can see on this side. So in upcoming episodes, you'll actually discover how Philip managed to meet that challenge. But there were more challenges, weren't there, honey?
There were many more. I hadn't worked with mud brick walls before, and there was a mud brick wall right across here, which I had to demolish. And that was a big undertaking that I hadn't anticipated how much work was involved. The other thing was that the two posts either side of the wall were way out of plumb, both this way and this way. And I'll share with you in the upcoming videos just how I was able to correct those posts that were way out. Because you couldn't move the posts, they had to be retrofitted so I could tile on them. So this is also a mud brick wall, and I had to render it. That was Lisa's fault, because we had too many different textures. We had the floral patterned tiled wall, we had these brick pattern areas here, walls and posts, and then we had mud brick. So rendering it was a great idea. It finishes it off, and of course that was a challenge because I'd never rendered a mud brick wall before. Don't get me started on the plumbing. That was a massive challenge. For example, we had to work out how to get the wastewater from the vanity basin here, which to the outside of the flat, which required cutting a trench in the slab. That was huge. A lot of jackhammering involved. And then there was getting the supply lines, hot and cold water, to the vanity taps here, to the shower, and also water to the toilet and water to the kitchen that was to be built on. But you'll see how we got over these challenges, every one of them successfully, in the upcoming episodes. Looking forward to sharing that with you. So the skirting board, why was it a challenge? Well, fitting the skirting board to an uneven mud brick surface, major challenge. I'll share with you how I went about fastening it to the wall and finishing it off like it is.
What surprised us? Well, actually, the first thing that comes to mind is I was surprised at what we both achieved. This was the biggest Reno project we had ever done to date, wasn't it, Philip?
Oh, definitely, by far. Yeah.
And there were lots of surprises along the way, but I really, really love the result. We both do. And I think it really surprised me what we're actually both capable of as a team. And I'm sorry if that sounds like blowing our own trumpet, but you know, we can underestimate ourselves. You can underestimate yourself. And it's just incredible when you just approach a project step by step and take it one day at a time, just how much you can achieve, how much you can learn, and, you know, and the results that you can get. So, yeah, the surprise was, well, I think we're actually quite good at this between the two of us. And it really inspired us to take on the house, you know, the main house, and not be happy with mediocre, you know, perhaps stretch ourselves a little bit and just see how far we can go with this. I think that's what surprised me the most.
Yeah, I agree with you, Lisa. And I'm really looking forward to sharing our progress that we've made and how we got to this point.
Absolutely.
With our viewers, because they too can experience the joy, the satisfaction that comes from stretching out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to take you right back to the beginning. Part 2 of this series is called The Strip Out Begins. I think that's what it's going to be called anyway. So why not subscribe, hit the like if you've enjoyed today's episode so you don't miss out on future episodes. Yeah?
Yeah, that's good.
Shall we stop there?
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
See you next week. What's wrong with you today? Why are you falling to sleep all the time? Wakey, wakey! I think we all go through that